Okay, I have just had no luck with trying to explain how the hell this thing is supposed to work. You're going to have to bear with me. There's going to be a ton of hand waving here. I doubt anybody's going to make it through this explanation and believe that it makes any sort of rational sense at all. The problem that I ran into in trying to connect the MAX7219 controller to my display. So, here's the display circuit that I put together. This is, because we're looking at the back of the circuit, this is from right to left, the month, the day, the year, the hour, minute, second. I'm kind of worried about this month because there's going to be a huge space between it and the day. I'm just going to suck it up and deal with it. But this circuit's pretty easy to create. The problem was in trying to interface to it. I needed a way to connect a pair of 7219s to each set of 8 digits. And my original thought was that I was going to do this by having, if this is the board with display on it, it's facing to the right with, I don't know, the viewers on the right hand side of the screen here. I was hoping to take and build the controller board so that they would interface with right angle headers to the display board and connect there. But the problem I had was that if those things were sitting here connected to the bottom of the display board, then I would have to have, I think it's around 32 connections that jumped the gap between the controller board and the display board. And those 32 connections don't have much space to connect through. So about 8 of them can connect straight at the bottom here, but then the other 8 plus about 8 more would have to traverse through these little, just teeny tiny spaces in between the individual display units. That was not going to work. So I eventually hit upon the idea of sandwiching them. So you have well, again, if this is the display board, then I was going to put a controller board right here, and that would allow me to connect several pins at the top and several pins down at the bottom. This again ends up being a problem because the number of, well, a 2-layer board is really not able to carry the number of connections that I needed to run two 7219 controllers. This right here, I don't know how well you can see it. It's highlighted in gray, or maybe this is a light blue. I don't know. But I'd have to have 2 of these things on this board, and there would be connections running all over the place, and it just didn't work. It didn't fit. So the next idea I came up with was to take that sandwiching one level further. And certainly not to scale, because I have three boards here that are different sizes, but I'd have the display board, and then sandwiched right on top of it is a controller board, and sandwiched on top of that is yet another controller board. And there are a bunch of fiddly details here that allow me to make that work. I'm not going to get into it too much, but the outputs, what's an output? The outputs to the digit controllers are shared between the boards. So the transistor that controls, say, the leftmost digit on the middle board in the sandwich is the same output pin as the upper board in the sandwich. And so what I figure I'm going to do is, and I'm scrambling around trying to find little bits to illustrate with, so if this is going to be the digit board, I'm going to have some of these little guys. These are just male-female headers. I don't have 1 by N headers to illustrate this at the moment. I will order some, but this will be perfectly good for the illustration. If this is the lowest layer of my sandwich, so this is the display. Maybe I should be keeping them right, keeping the display on the right for my illustrations. But what I will end up doing is I will solder one of these guys on here, and then the next board in the sandwich, I keep misplacing these bloody things, the next board in the sandwich will also have one of these headers on it for the pins that pass through, and then I'll just be able to plug the one board into the next. And if this sounds familiar, if you're an Arduino user, you've seen this before. So this is, and you're about to get a ton of glare, sorry about this. If you're an Arduino user, you are used to seeing something like this with boards that attach to it this way. And these things will in fact stack. I don't think I have any stacking boards available to really illustrate it, but I'm just going to bet you've seen it before. So I'm going to have a 3-layer stack using this same concept. Anyway, so if you want an idea of the size of this, and maybe I don't have anything good to, I mean, other than my hands, you don't have anything that's real size here. This is the size of the display circuit. This is the actual size that the finished product is going to be, and each one of these is going to have 2 of these sandwiched right on top of it. So it will sit, where's the interface point? The interface point is right here. There's going to be one right there and another one right on top of it. I only printed one of them. Now, you've been looking at this circuit while I've been sitting here talking. You might have noticed how many times I have these funny things going on. If you're not familiar with PCB Express, a red trace is on the top layer, a blue trace is the bottom layer, and a yellow trace is not a trace at all. It's the silkscreen layer. So this is basically bookkeeping for me. What this is telling me is that when I copy paste this circuit over to, one of the 3 other locations that I have in here, in order to make this work as a, middle layer circuit, maybe I should have labeled this as middle, but I was thinking about controllers at the time. The bottom level circuit, there will be an actual an actual red connection here, and for the top level of the sandwich, there will be a red level here. That's what T is trying to tell me. On the top level, I need to turn this red. On the bottom level, I need to turn this red, and so on, and so on, and so on, and so on, and so on. And this just goes on all over the place. You probably see T and B all with little yellow traces all over the place. The only exception is this one right here. This says TJ. This stands for top jumper. These are going to pass through just like everything else. So there's going to be the lowest level of the sandwich, and there's going to be a header jumper from there to the middle layer, and then another header jumper to the top layer. But on the top layer, instead of using one of these header jumpers, I'm going to use one of these, because I need to actually tie those 2 pins together. The reason for that is because this is D out. This is how the middle layer LED controller sends data to the upper layer controller, and the input pin is pin 1 right here. So what I need is a way to be able to select, oh boy, I need to make sure that this output pin right here, and boy, maybe you can't see my mouse, but I need to make sure that the pin 24, the output goes to pin 1 on the board above it. But I don't know, if you do this wrong, you end up connecting pin 24 on the middle layer of the sandwich to pin 1 on the middle layer of the sandwich, and that would be disastrous. So that's why this is a little unusual. But anyway, so I have some copy pasting to do. Just going to replicate this thing 3 times, and then I will be deleting the silkscreen layer version of half of these jumpers, and then turning the others into the appropriate color to have them printed as traces. After that, I will basically be ready to order this thing. We have a few little bits of cleanup to do. I don't know why, but I really like my traces to be at 45 degrees when I can. But that is about it. That's it. And what I'm hoping is that once this is done, I will be able to release this, and anybody who wants to order this board from PCB Express will be able to do so. There will be a video where I will actually be soldering all the parts onto this and testing it out, so that hopefully if anybody's crazy enough to follow in my footsteps, they'll be able to build one themselves. So anyway, that's it for now. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask, because frankly I understand that me sitting here waving my hands in front of a screen is not terribly helpful, but at the same time, this is not my bread and butter. I just make these videos as kind of a documentation phase. If anybody's curious, they're welcome to slog through them, but yeah, I don't intend to get 1 million views on this. So anyway, let me know if you have any questions, and that's it. Take care.